Hi, this is Shar and Rod, my sidekick, and we have a special guest, and I'm going to introduce him in a minute because he is fantastic. He's got a lot of good things to tell you that's going to really tickle your innards. Okay, and this is Coach Cancer, and we are glad you are tuning in today.
Cancer coach, as it were.
Yes, and we know how I am, and whole body cancer coach. Now,
Well, I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm wearing a beret. This was given to me by my good friend, Magnet Maxx, and it's kind of weird because I just got it today. He just gave it to me, a nice gift. The only thing that it's kind of strange because I suddenly have the urge to drink Cabernet Sauvignon and eat croissants. But anyway, without further ado, we want to introduce Magnet Mike.
Magnet Mike.
Yes, hi. It's a pleasure to be doing this. I've never done it before, and it's going to be a lot of fun. A number of interesting things to share with you. One of which is magnetism and the different energy spins and how magnetism can affect your health profoundly relative to the pH. And how God was responsible for doing all of these things and in different segments. It's not going to be. I'm not going to lay it all out for you right now. In other segments, you'll get an indication of all this. But let me just start by saying, years ago, probably 30 years ago, I was visiting and asked if I wanted to sleep on a magnetic mattress, and I said sure. So when I got up in the morning, I felt like crap. And I didn't understand why. Well, until years later. Well, actually, it was removing toxins from my system. And so years later, when I had a bad case of sciatica, is this close enough here, like this?
Yes,
all right.
this is
You're
fine.
fine. You're fine.
Years later, when I had a bad case of sciatica, I'd go to chiropractor, and he would help me, and then an acupuncturist that made it worse, and so then I found this older gentleman who was retiring, and he was a magnetic therapist. Well, I'd never heard of a magnetic therapist. And for your information, in this country, there's probably about 40 registered magnetic therapists operating who are licensed. I am certified. I went to India to get a certification in this. I'm not licensed, but I do practice by word of mouth, that sort of thing. And so I learned how to treat my sciatica successfully. So a friend of mine then had sciatica, and I treated him, and it was good. And the next person I treated, and I charged him for it. Well, then that began my career of treating people with magnets and doing some amazing things. So I didn't understand why magnets worked, how they operated, and so now I can give classes and presentations on magnetism and how it all began and how it affects the body and all that kind of stuff. But let me depart from that for a minute to talk about the what I believe to be the origin of magnetism. Talking about Scripture, talking about the book of Genesis, when God said, let light be made, and light was made. Well, what do you suppose light from God would be? He would point his finger, and immediately there would be the speed of light traveling through the void, which is also scriptural. So light was made by God traveling through the void. Now, as it traveled through the void, what happened, obviously, there would be two wakes on either side of this light that is traveling. Well, one wake is spinning clockwise, and the other one is spinning counterclockwise. And then God said, let me divide the waters above from below. And he divided everything, and that is the result of these wakes that are permeating the universe. The entire universe is filled in every area with opposites that are generated by magnetism, which are the opposite spins. And I mean, it doesn't make any difference what you're talking about. It can be something physical, it can be something spiritual, it's something intellectual, something emotional. There's an opposite to everything, and that's where they all began, right there. Now, interestingly, when the universe, when God had created the universe, it was permeated with these opposites, and that's why the planets can function without crashing into one another because of the pushing and the pull. I mean, it's a very simple thing. Well, when this effect is put upon the universe, it's magnetism, and as the planets move around, they generate a magnetic effect, just like the moon affects the water and affects people in certain moods at different times of the month and periods and all of those kinds of things. So when a person is conceived at the instant of their conception, wherever they are on the planet, that's when the magnetic effect of all of these planets focus in on that conception and make the lines on the palms of your hand. That's why when a person goes to a palmist, they can tell you basically who you are, what your tendencies are. They can't go into the future, but that's an indication. Magnetism also is responsible for creating the fingerprint.
That's interesting. He was telling us about this earlier. This is really interesting.
And the colic on top of the head. So what we're looking at in life, in all living matter and non-living matter, we're looking at these energy spins, because everything has a vibration to it, contingent upon these two energies coming together. If you have one energy, there's no activity. If you have two, then there is that activity, and that's what makes the world go round. That's what creates energy and life in everything. I mean, it's basically that simple. Mm-hmm. And so I can go on to something else.
That was wonderful. That was absolutely wonderful. Now let's look at this thumbprint. Excuse me.
Uh-huh.
Again, I want you guys to really look at this, and I want you to take the time and look at your own, because what he just gave us, the information that he gave us, is very, very, very important. Because you need to think about it, because we're going to get back into the next segment and get even more information, and also he's going to demonstrate later on my body. Okay, so you'll see it, and I want you guys to stay tuned. This is very, very, very important to you. And we want to say thank you very much, and until we come back, you know what I always say, smile.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. We good?
Mm-hmm.